The theme is the demise of the Federal Reserve. Pretty strong words. What do you mean by that?
It is. It's something that the media hasn't caught on to yet, but it is this. The chain reaction of what is going on right now will lead to this. And basically, I'll be talking about how, the debt that the government is taking on, coupled with the Federal Reserve's balance sheet that keeps ballooning, coupled with interest rates that they just want to keep lower, will eventually create a situation, a collapse in the system, where you will no longer see the Fed in its current form. It'll be kind of abolished, if you will. And that's going to happen strictly because the people will demand it. And they're going to go over it. It relates to cryptocurrency because eventually you're going to see a switch over to this kind of blockchain, crypto, digital currencies that will eventually be the future. After the collapse, you'll see a new body come up that'll be in charge of the digital currency, whatever it may be, and eventually you'll see this digital currency probably being used all over the world, even as the reserve currency. But I think the bottom line is you'll see something emerge that'll be a body that monitors the digital currency, but it'll be strict in terms of its expansion, right? And I also think that the people will demand that the government eventually has a balanced budget and that can't just run endless debt up. And this crazy, monetary theory, as they call it, it's just this concept that the government is now run by, that you can just print unlimited amounts because there's no repercussions, and that is absolutely not the case. I mean, even someone who runs their own household can tell you that eventually that check is going to run out. But what I'm actually calling for is a total collapse of the monetary system, actually. Wow, okay. So it's not, there will have to be a reset, and I do think that what we're going to go through as a country, as a world, is something that's going to equal, if not be worse than 1929 and the 30s of the Great Depression. It is going to be cataclysmic, but from its dust, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies will rise and be the future of society.
What's going to be the trigger for this collapse?
Oh, man. I think the triggers have already been put in place with just the printing of endless money. Think about how everyone's now saying the U.S. could just, how do we pay off, almost $30 trillion in debt? Print more money, keep interest rates low. We know that every time there's a crisis in the world, whether it's COVID, whether it's a recession, what does the Fed do? Pumps more money, more QE. Think about after 2009, the Fed came in with quantitative easing. You thought that was going to end after a few years. It didn't. And now we have COVID, and it's even more. And now the Fed's talking about it again. Watch, you'll see some sort of new crisis emerge, and the Fed will cut back on the QE a little bit and then re-up it as soon as the markets start to throw a hissy fit.
But why would that cause the monetary system to collapse?
Well, because eventually you have so many dollars out there that you're going to eventually have yields on the bonds spike higher regardless of the Fed, and you're going to have some sort of system that just is doomed to collapse. And it's hard to denote the exact chain reaction or specifics, but you can just see the writing on the wall at this point. It is not a pretty situation. I think the dollar is going to eventually collapse. I think a lot of the main currencies of the world will decline. I think inflation is going to not go down back to 2%. You're going to see inflation run hot for at least a decade going into this. And eventually you're going to have the people just rising up, not necessarily in a violent way, but just demanding some sort of change, that you can't just constantly print money, that you can't just run up debt endlessly, because eventually that just eats away at our own buying power. And so you're going to have this situation where actually cryptocurrency is a huge winner here longer term, as well as, in my opinion, gold and other commodities.
What does Bitcoin look like? What does gold look like?
Gold is easily north of 5,000 at that point, and crypto, you'll see Bitcoin well north of 500,000.
Okay.